Hi everyone, I'm John C. Morley, the host of the JMOR Tech Talk Show and Inspirations for Your Life. Hey guys, good afternoon or good evening. It is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. Great to be with you on the JMOR Tech Talk Show. So today is April 25th, 2025 that we're putting this out there. It's great to be with everyone. We have an amazing show here for you. Hackers, lawsuits, and half marathons. Tech never sleeps. And we're on series 4, guys, show number 17. So definitely check that out. Be sure to visit believemeachieve.com, of course, for more of my amazing, inspiring creations, which you can do 24 hours a day. Not during the show, obviously, but definitely check that out later on. Really love you to check that out. All right, guys, let's just get started, shall we? All right. So if you're thirsty or hungry or anything, well, feel free to go to the kitchen and get yourself something yummy. Whether it's something cold, something hot. Hopefully you want something cold right now, probably, because it is getting hot. Maybe a snack. It could be something healthy, something sweet, something tart, or not. Whatever. Go ahead and get that and hurry on back. So again, everyone, welcome to the show. It is so great to have everybody with me here today. The digital world just got a little wilder. In this jam-packed episode of the JMOR Tech Talk Show, I'm going to be tackling some of the boldest moves and the oddest twists in tech today. From robots running marathons in China to hackers giving Seattle a Bezos-themed makeover. This week's updates are as thrilling as they are eye-opening. I'll break down how Google, Meta, and Nvidia are facing some legal and financial heat while governments experiment with AI and battle over cybersecurity laws. Whether it's a Zoom outage shaking up businesses or NASA getting closer to the sun than ever, we've got you covered this week with insights, analysis, and a touch of that JMOR flavor that you always seem to like. All right, guys. So our subtitle for today is Code, Chaos, and Cosmic Close Calls. Tech's wildest week yet, if I do say so myself. Well, number one, right off to kick off the first pitch out of the mound here, Google appeals the antitrust ad tech ruling recently that got imposed on them. Google is officially challenging a major European Union antitrust ruling that accused it of unfair dominance in digital advertising. The case, which stems from claims that Google leveraged its control over the ad tech stack to favor its own services, could have far-reaching implications and consequences for how online ads operate now. If the appeal fails, Google could be forced to divest parts of its advertising business or drastically change how it handles transactions. For advertisers and publishers, this could mean a more level playing field or a more chaotic one, depending on how regulation unfolds. Google maintains that its systems provide value and efficiency, but critics argue they suppress competition. The outcome could set a precedent for global tech regulation, especially in the US and the UK, where similar concerns are rising. This isn't just about fines. It's about the future structure of the digital ad economy. And I have to tell you, I've given you my bad story about Google one time. Our company decided to use Google because we figured, hey, they know more than everybody, right? But what we were very shocked to learn is that when we hired them, they were dictating to us, telling us we had to spend more money. And we said, okay, fine. This is what we have to agree to spend. So we did, as long as it, brings us some traction, because you don't spend it until actually they, show the ads for it. So we were meeting with this one person, and the guy was just terrible. He literally was rude. He was obnoxious. And then after we agreed to his terms, he connected us with somebody else who was even more rude and obnoxious. And to tell you how bad they were showing ads to the wrong town. We're in Franklin Lakes. They put Franklin, New Jersey. Close, but not quite that close. So the other thing that really dismayed me is that you weren't really working with a Google employee. You're working with somebody from Accenture and other companies who many people didn't know that they were actually subcontractors for Google, and they really just didn't care. It was just a mess. And when you called to complain, you would get some kind of system telling you that no one's available because they would check your account. When you finally did get somebody that got back to you, they would tell you, "Oh, we just have to spend more money." I mean, any yo-yo can do that. So I was really disappointed with them, and I will never advertise with Google again, and I won't ever recognize or recommend any of our clients in our ad agency to use them. There's just many other great solutions until things change, if they do. Zoom recovers from a global outage recently. So Zoom, the ubiquitous video conferencing platform everyone knows, faced a major outage that disrupted services across the globe. Businesses, schools, and individuals were suddenly left without their go-to communication tool, highlighting our deep dependence on digital platforms for daily operations. Zoom quickly acknowledged the issue and rolled out fixes, but users expressed frustration on social media, emphasized the platform's role as essential infrastructures are something that they need to be monitoring more. In the wake of this outage, discussions were growing around backup systems and alternative tools to reduce vulnerability to single platform failure. Zoom has promised more transparency and updates moving forward, but for many, the incident has already planted seeds of doubt. Could this lead to a diversification of video communication services, or will Zoom bounce back stronger with more robust fail-safes? I don't know, guys. One thing I think that's very interesting is, so the school that I go to for my master's, and then it'll be my PhD at Montclair State University. Well, Montclair State University experienced a Zoom outage, and so this was a big problem, just last week. And so when we think about it, everyone thought that, that it was something with the university. It was something with Montclair State University. But what we found out was that it wasn't actually Montclair State University. It was Zoom, because they call it Red Hawk Zoom, but really it uses Zoom's technology, or Red Hawk conferencing services. And so this is an interesting thing. But when this caused a complete disruption to asynchronous classes, which are classes that are taken remotely, that became a problem for not only administration, but many students. All right. Many students. We'll just have to see what's going on. And we'll have to keep an eye, guys, because the question I have is, will Zoom do anything to fix this? I think they might. Okay. We were getting issues basically around April 16 for domain not resolving at all. Looked like a name server issue, which accidentally got taken down by an attack. Zoom's outage report blames a communication error between GoDaddy registry and the Mark Monitor. Mark Monitor defined itself as ICANN accredited registrar. And from what I have seen, companies are basically shelling out top dollars to keep valuable domains safe. The whole point of paying Mark Monitor rates it's protecting domains from this kind of meltdown. But I think a lot of this is just a bunch of nonsense for money, and these companies are not giving the services that they should. And I got to say, to use GoDaddy, I'm not a big fan of GoDaddy, but to use GoDaddy to manage publicly traded companies' domains, like, they just don't seem like they're that, I don't know, able to do that. I know one time we used them in the past, and it was a complete nightmare. Like, you got people that just didn't even understand what we were talking about. So we'll have to see what's going on with that, guys. And we will definitely give you feedback. Well, robots complete a half marathon in China. In an extraordinary display of robotics and endurance, a group of humanoid robots completed a half marathon in China recently. This groundbreaking event wasn't a sci-fi stunt. It was a real test of robotic coordination, balance, and durability over long distances. Now, the robots built in the system whereby various companies and universities they navigated the course autonomously, handling terrain changes and minor obstacles without any type of human intervention or control. The feat signals massive progress in both AI, artificial intelligence, mobility, and physical design, potentially opening the door for robots to take on more real world applications in search and rescue, healthcare, and beyond. Engineers behind the project said it's less about speed and more about consistency and control. Spectators were amazed not just by the technical accomplishment, but by the vision of a future where robots run alongside us literally. This could be a glimpse into how physical AI evolves beyond factory floors. Um, this is kind of interesting if I do say so myself, but I think in one breath, I think it's a big issue because we have to make sure there's certain fail safes in place. I mean, you've heard me say this before, right? We have to make sure there's certain fail safes in place. If they're not in place, then that's a problem. And we'll just have to see what's going on. So we're definitely going to keep our eyes peeled with this, guys, and we'll let you know what's happening. If it's something that's going to help us or hurt us, you'll be the first to hear it right here on the JMOR Tech Talk Show. And Nvidia hit by a U.S. chip export ban recently caused. So Nvidia, one of the world's leading chip makers, has taken a serious financial hit following a U.S. government ban on chip exports to certain countries. The export restrictions, primarily aimed at limiting China's access to high-end semiconductor technology, have cost Nvidia a sizable chunk of international business. Now, the company warned investors of the blow, citing lost sales in both the AI and the gaming sectors, where its chips are in the high demand currently. Beyond the dollars, this move underscores a deepening of tech Cold War between the U.S. and China. Now, Nvidia is, of course, currently reevaluating its production and their distribution strategies to stay compliant with minimizing revenue losses. Experts say this could delay development in cutting edge AI systems abroad and reshape the competitive landscape for chip design globally. It's a textbook example of politics disrupting innovation pipelines. And I think, we're going to see a lot more about that. Speaking about pipelines, it's actually a topic that we're studying this week in my advanced MIPS class. And my final for it is actually coming up this Monday, by the way, guys, which is April 20th. It's actually my last day of class. And I thought I would bring this up because I think it's kind of interesting. What is a pipeline in MIPS? So, again, MIPS is the assembly language, okay? And so a pipeline is a technique used to improve instruction throughput by overlapping the execution of multiple instructions. Think of it like an assembly line in a factory where one instruction is being executed. The next one can be decoded and another can be fetched all at the same time. Now, MIPS, the pipeline, has 5 classic stages. We have the instruction fetch, we have the instruction decode register fetch, we have the execute address calculation, we have the memory access, and the write back. And so why do you want to use pipelining? Well, it increases performance. Multiple instructions are in progress at once. What I want to explain to you, though, is that it doesn't make a task finish any quicker for the time it takes. It's just the amount of time, so the cycle time doesn't change. But how long we have to wait changes because we don't have to wait for something to be done. So if we think of it like a laundromat, and we have let's say we have a washer, we have a dryer, we have a folding area, right? And then we have a store place we have to put things in storage. Now, each one of those, let's say, took 30 minutes. Outside of pipelining, okay, they're still going to take 30 minutes. So 30 times 4 is 120. However, if we can stagger the starts so that in cycle 1 we could start washing, in cycle 2 we can also do some. So that's the handy thing. We can stagger how that works, assuming we have more machines and things like that. But that can help us. It also basically introduces some challenges. We call them hazards. I won't get into them too deeply. One is a data hazard, which is anytime there's an instruction that has a dependency on something else, like a resource such as a register or memory, etc. There are control hazards, which come from branches. And then there are structural hazards. So structural hazards are more resource conflicts. So data hazards actually are instruction dependency. So like a register, like if this, let's say I write a register and then I need to read that register. If it's not finished writing, I can't read it. A structural hazard is when the resource is already in use, such as like an ALU, arithmetic logic unit, memory, etc. Now, the whole point is we want to prevent stalling, but I'm not going to get into that really deeply. The reason I want to share that with you is that pipelining is changing where we're going. Okay, it definitely is changing where we're going. And when we think about pipelining and how it works, it's a very robust type of factory kind of system that'll give us more throughput and hopefully allow us to mitigate more of the challenges which come up, because a lot of people don't understand what these challenges are. And if we're building a pipeline environment, whether it's in a production world or whether it's in the factories that connect with politics, we got to understand how that works, right? All right. And jumping on to number 5. Well, the UK Council uses AI for housing plans. Check this out. A UK local government has begun experimenting with artificial intelligence to develop new housing plans that better align with community needs. By analyzing data or current housing trends, environmental impacts, and social factors, AI could generate urban designs and resource allocations that are more sustainable and equitable. This marks a significant milestone moving forward toward integrating AI into public planning, which could lead to smarter, data-driven cities. While AI can't replace human planners entirely, its role as a powerful tool for complex decision-making is becoming clearer. Experts caution that reliance on AI is such at high risks, and it requires careful oversight to avoid bias and ensure fairness. Still, the success of this project could serve as a model for cities worldwide looking to modernize their infrastructure and address housing crises. I think that's something that a lot of people might be fearful of. And I think the reason they're fearful of it is because what if the decision made is wrong? I always say that you have to keep humans in the loop, right? You've got to keep humans in the loop. If you don't keep humans in the loop, guys, it can be a very, very big problem. Okay. I think that's a big problem. And if you don't get it, it's just going to weaken the infrastructure for which we're in. I think that is a huge problem for a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people. And you don't tend to understand things like different hazards unless you can understand what they can do and how we can mitigate them. Okay? How we can mitigate them. I think that's very, very important, guys. Very, very important. All right, moving on to our next point. This is the U.S. warns Zambia over a cyber law that is new. So the U.S. government has raised alarms about Zambia's new cybersecurity law, warning that it could lead to major internet freedom violations. The law, which is supposed to grant the government sweeping powers to monitor online activity and punish those deemed to be spreading false information, has drawn criticism from human rights groups. The U.S. has urged Zambia to rethink its approach, arguing that such measures could stifle freedom of expression and innovation. While Zambia insists that the law is necessary for national security and combating cyber crime, I should say, the controversy highlights the ongoing global tension between securing cyberspace and maintaining somewhat of a civil set of liberties. This issue isn't unique to Zambia, as many countries around the world struggle with how to balance digital freedom and national security. Big problem. Could this mark the beginning of a broader international set of debates on internet governance? It could, guys. It really, really could. But, I think everyone's just kind of panicking right now, and they're hoping that this is going to be the solution. It may not be the solution, and if it isn't, well, that's fine. But I think we have to be cognizant of the fact that these different technologies out there, I mean, they do exist, right? I think that's a very, very, big problem for everyone. And so, if we understand that, then maybe it'll be something that people would understand a little bit better. But I think we have to do our due diligence before we can start, willy nilly just jumping in and saying, okay, we want to just do this. Because I think technology has the power to strip people of its freedoms. I won't get into all this today, but I think this is a serious problem for a lot of people. All right. Number 7, Discord, the social media platform, tests facial scans for age check. To Discord, the popular online communication platform has begun testing of their facial recognition technology as a new way to verify users' ages before they enter certain channels. The move, which they're hoping aims to protect younger users from inappropriate content, has raised significant privacy concerns. While Discord insists the data collected will not be stored and will not be used for real-time verification, critics are wary of the potential risks. The implementation of AI-powered facial scans could be a slippery slope toward greater surveillance, leading some to question whether the benefits outweigh the privacy trade-offs. Supporters are starting to argue that this technology could create safer online spaces, especially for minors. Regardless of the side you're on, it's clear that facial recognition is becoming an increasingly common tool in the tech world, raising important ethical questions about privacy and security. Let's take the airport for a moment, okay? So let's just take the airport. So what does, I think it's called ID Me, do with your facial scan when they read it at the airport? Let's talk a little bit about that. So it allows passengers to securely and safely, they claim, share their identity information through facial recognition. Now, TSA says they do not copy or store the digital ID unless it is done in a limited testing environment for evaluation purposes of the Agency of Facial Recognition Technology. They say that's the only way they do it. So how does it work? It's called the TSA PreCheck Touchless ID, and it uses facial recognition technology to match your face to the photo on your ID. If everything checks out, then you may not need to hand your ID to a TSA officer at all. But it's not just for pre-check. The TSA pre-check, it works for any kind of check. What does TSA do with your photo? Well, the photo is optional. Your photo and personal data are deleted after your identity is verified. Images are not used for law enforcement, surveillance, and not shared with other entities. You can tell the officer if you do not want your photo taken. And if you don't, they simply just have you stand to the side, they ask for your license, and they make sure your face matches the license. I mean, that's pretty much how it works. I mean, there's not too much to it. But I still see there being a problem, okay? The problem I see is that there could be an exploit, okay? They claim it's for faster, shorter, lines and things like that, more secure to prevent fake IDs. They say they're not used for law enforcement or surveillance. The system's not connected to any police or immigration database. No photos are used outside the checkpoint process. But many people, including lawmakers, aren't convinced. And I'll be honest, I'm not convinced either. I think the data is being stored somewhere. And so, senators from both parties are now demanding more oversight. They want the Department of Homeland Security to prove that facial recognition is more effective than existing systems, show it does not create bias or unfavor errors, protect the public's personal data and privacy, provide clear ways for travelers to opt out. Are there risks or errors? Like all technology, facial recognition isn't perfect. We've all used our finger to sign on a computer, and sometimes if your finger's not correct, it doesn't read it. I know I have one for my USB drives, and if my finger's not exactly right on that, well, it's not going to let me get into my secure drive. So studies have also shown that facial recognition can be less accurate for people with darker skin, women and older adults. And this has raised more equity questions about who is most likely to be wrongly flagged, right? There are kids, right? And digital IDs. So right now, children under 18 are not photographed using facial recognition. So the traditional ID checks are still in place for minors. TSA is also starting to test digital driver's licenses that are stored on smartphones at some checkpoints. During test periods, TSA may collect and analyze some traveler data. They have said this data is anonymized, encrypted, and deleted within 2 years. I don't believe that. What's the big picture? Facial recognition at airports is growing quickly. TSA plans to expand the technology to more than 430 airports across the US. That means it could become the default way we verify identity at the airport, but you can always opt out. But even as the system spreads, questions remain. Is it really about safety, or is it about surveillance? Will opting out stay easy, or will pressure to comply increase? Can TSA guarantee fairness and privacy as the system grows? And so many people don't know. I've been doing this for many years. I opt out of doing they call it basically the checkpoint. You know, when you go through and you go through the scanners, I refuse to do that. I'll go through a manual pat down. And that's your right. There are a lot of rights, but they don't publish these rights. And I think as a traveler, you've got to know what these rights are. I think that's a huge problem for a lot of people. And I think that just gets into the way our country works and democracy and and things like that. But what does it really mean? Um, I think it comes down to the fact that people are getting manipulated, unfortunately. It's because of different bills that are getting passed, and there is some political bias. Let's not kid ourselves here. There's definitely some political bias to how these things are working. The fact that it's misflagging certain people, well, that's a real issue, right? So we're going to have to definitely keep an eye on that because some strong concerns of questions are popping up about privacy and security. And number 8, guys, Tesla whistleblower lawsuit does move forward. You might say, John, what the heck is this all about? Well, this is a very interesting story, if I do say so myself. Um, Basically, a lawsuit from a former Tesla employee has gained traction, alleging that the company failed to address multiple safety violations at its factory. Okay. The whistleblower claims that Tesla disregarded worker safety standards and created an unsafe environment for its employees, leading to potential risks of many sets of injuries and long-term health consequences. The case is particularly significant because Tesla, okay, I think I think this is important to understand that with this being, the way it is, it's going to cause them to be under more magnification. Um, and the scrutiny in the past for workplace safety, especially concerning its rapid production targets, while Tesla maintains that it upholds the highest safety standards. All right. That's what they claim. Okay. The legal battle could potentially spark larger conversations about worker protections in high tech factories with growing public interest in labor rights and corporate responsibility. This lawsuit could have far reaching effects on the tech industry's treatment of employees. Could this be the catalyst for new regulations in the manufacturing sector? Might be, might be. So I think we're going to have to be, I use the word cognizant. We're going to have to be aware of what's going on because the big thing everybody wants to do is they all want to get people comfortable, right, with a certain thing. But then what we're finding is that they're twisting the truth about, all right? They're twisting the truth. And if they twist the truth, that's a huge problem. All right. We'll just say we have to see what's going on and why people are doing things a certain way, and let people know that we're kind of onto them. We know what's going on, and we're not going to be taken down a path, right, or brainwashed into believing that this is the right way when it really may not be. And ladies and gentlemen, Meta is slammed for poor hacked account support. Meta, Facebook, we all know Meta. Facebook changed the name to Meta a while back. They thought they were hiding something by doing that, but they're really not. Meta's facing backlash over its handling, I should say the poor handling of hacked accounts on Facebook and Instagram. Users have reported struggling to regain control of their accounts after they were hacked, with some claiming that Meta's support system is slow, unhelpful, or entirely unresponsive. Meta users are frustrated by the lack of direct assistance and the overwhelming reliance on automated systems. As Meta continues to expand its user base, ensuring account security is becoming more critical than ever, the issue has prompted questions about how well tech giants are prepared to protect users from emerging threats. Critics are arguing that Meta needs to invest more in its customer service infrastructure to maintain user trust. If the company doesn't act quickly, it risks losing credibility in an increasingly competitive social media landscape. I mean, first of all, you can't call Facebook on the phone. They do have a chat system, but let me just tell you this about the chat system. That chat system is basically for advertisers only. It's not really for anything else. If you think it is, well, let's just say you're highly mistaken. Yeah, you're highly mistaken. And I think that could be a problem. I think that could be a big problem. If people understood that these changes that are being made, or lack thereof from Meta, had some other type of, let's say, a positive attribute, but there is no positive attribute. Meta is just not giving support. I mean, Meta has become very unresponsive. Yeah, Meta basically has no customer support. Not that TikTok does either, okay? So only Meta verified subscribers can access Meta verified support. So what does that mean? They want you to pay to be able to get support. That sounds like a real moronic way to do that. It's very interesting. The small claims court became Meta's customer service hotline. Not too long ago, one lady boarded a plane from New Jersey to California to appear in court. He found himself engaged in a legal dispute against one of the largest corporations of the world, and in probably the venue for their David versus Goliath showdown. And it would be San Mateo's small claims court. Over the course of 8 months, an estimated $700, mostly in travel expenses, he was able to claw back what all other methods had failed to render: his personal Facebook account. Those may be extraordinary lengths to regain a digital profile with no relation to its owner's livelihood. But this one person is one of the growing numbers of frustrated users of Meta services who was unable to get help from an actual human through normal channels of recourse. Using the court system instead was his way to solve it. And in many cases, it is working. The thing is, they just don't have a proper channel. I think that's probably the best way to put it. They do not have a proper channel to handle this, guys. I mean, I think that's probably the nutshell, right there, that they don't have, they just don't have a proper channel. And I just see this getting worse and worse. Many small businesses say Meta is failing to help them recover hacked Facebook and Instagram accounts, leaving them also frustrated and even traumatized by the lack of support, because this is supposed to be part of their livelihood. Wedding dress designer recently, Catherine Dean, described the experience, quote unquote, as devastating, taking 4 months and a personal connection at Meta to resolve. Cybersecurity firm recently reported handling 10 to 15 such cases weekly, while scammers increasingly use AI and fake Meta branding to trick users into handing over credentials. Some firms even lose access without being hacked, often flagged by Meta systems in error. Despite growing complaints, Meta has offered limited transparency and continues urging users to enable stronger security measures. So one thing I'm going to tell you guys is use two-factor authentication. I know it might seem like a pain, but use it. If you do, you got a very high chance your account is going to stay safe. And there are so many. Maybe on Messenger. Have you ever gotten those messages from Facebook that says your page is violated, but it's a scam? Have you ever gotten those? Yeah. So what happens? This is a pretty big scam, and it says your page is about to be basically taken down. Okay. Here's why it's so dangerous. The scam isn't just a hassle, but also poses a significant threat to business owners for a few reasons: fear and urgency. We all know how hard it can be to build a following on Facebook or any other social media. So the idea of losing years of hard work with loss of your page is a little scary. Scammers prey on this fear, causing page owners to act quickly without thoroughly verifying the authenticity of the message, right? So that's important. Professional impersonation. Unlike some scams, which can be easier to detect, in this case, messages often appear to come from Meta using official language and graphics to deceive users. Loss of control. If you click on the link provided in the message, you may unknowingly give the scammer access to your business page, putting your content, audience, and financial information at risk. So always verify the source, avoid clicking links, educate your team, report suspicious activity, and enable two-factor authentication. It's really, really easy to do. Just go back to at the top, type security, and you can go right in there and enable two-factor authentication. The rise of the new Facebook scam underscores the importance of staying informed and aware. Scammers are becoming increasingly sophisticated, but with the right knowledge and precautions, you can protect your business page. Remember, Meta will never contact you through Messenger for matters related to policy violations or page issues. By avoiding suspicious links and reporting questionable activity, you can keep your Facebook page safe and secure. But I want to warn you of something else. One time I was reporting content because I thought it was helpful to report this content. What I found out was that when you report things too often, well, get this, guys, their system will actually flag you because you reported things too often. Like something seems messed up about that, right? So I caution you about reporting all those things. I just go block the people, right? And sometimes I tell them things like, this is crazy. I don't know who you think you're fooling. And then, it happens on LinkedIn, but not as often. LinkedIn basically doesn't allow that. Now, LinkedIn's also owned by is actually owned by Microsoft. I don't know if you guys know that, but Facebook shouldn't allow links to go through something. If the person doesn't know the person, they shouldn't allow links to go through. That's my personal feeling, right? That is my personal feeling. All right, so moving on with more things. Number 10, NASA's probe flies closest to the sun. Yeah, this is a really, really cool thing. And I think it's something that a lot of people are really happy is happening. So NASA has achieved a monumental milestone as its Parker Solar Probe flies closer to the sun than any spacecraft in history. The probe's journey, which began in 2018, is providing scientists with unprecedented data on the sun's atmosphere, solar winds, and magnetic fields. Now, this mission could ultimately help scientists better understand space, whether it's an impact on the Earth. As the probe approaches the sun, it's enduring extreme temperatures and radiation, a feat that's only possible thanks to its cutting-edge heat shield. With each orbit that it makes, Parker gathers valuable information that could revolutionize, guys, our understanding of the sun's behavior. Guys, I think that's like the bee's knees. I think that's something that is so, I got to say, that is so awesome that, they're able to do something like that, right? And I think a lot of people that hear this are like, wow, that's really cool that they actually, that they have that, right? But the goal is not to have anything direct. They just really want to gather data. That's really the biggest thing that they're That's the biggest thing that they're trying to do right now. So this mission also serves as a testament to humanity's ability to push the boundaries of exploration and technology. So I think that's something that we really got to be very, very proud of. I mean, our space program is I think it's really amazing, like all the stuff that we're doing with our space program. So we'll definitely have to keep you in the loop on that. And ladies and gentlemen, yes, Google faces another fine. $6.6 billion UK ad lawsuit. Google, like, what are you guys doing? Like, you get in trouble like now so much. I think more people are starting to realize that they can be sued, and so they do go after them. Google's facing a massive 5.4 billion pound or $6.6 billion lawsuit in the United Kingdom, accusing it of monopolizing digital advertising and misleading users. Yes, about how it collects and uses their data. The lawsuit, filed by a group of advertisers and publishers, claims that Google's control over both the inventory and the auction process creates an unfair advantage. The case could have a profound impact on digital advertising landscape assets out there if it succeeds, and potentially facing Google to overhaul its advertising business. Now, this comes amid ongoing regulatory pressure on big tech companies worldwide, and the outcome of the lawsuit could either basically reinforce Google's dominance or set a new precedent for regulating tech giants. So that's definitely a big one. And here's one I think that's pretty interesting. A protester disrupts a Microsoft AI event. This is one, guys, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, this is just like, imagine being an event and your event gets interrupted. Like, that's just crazy. So a protester recently interrupted a Microsoft artificial intelligence event, claiming that the company's artificial intelligence systems were being used to exploit workers. The protesters' actions have sparked discussions about the ethical implications of AI, particularly in the context of labor rights. While the AI is transforming industries, some argue that it also raises the risk of increased automation, leading to job displacement and income inequality. Microsoft, which has made significant investments in AI development, has faced pressure to ensure that its technology is used responsibly and ethically. The disruption highlights growing public concerns about how big tech is leveraging AI and whether it's in the best interest of society as a whole. As AI continues to evolve, expect more protests and debates on its ethical uses. And I think, again, just like I'll tell you I'll tell you AI, it's not good, it's not bad. It's a tool. And how we choose to use it, ladies and gentlemen, that makes that so. And so it's our own choice how we choose to use this particular tool, right? I think that's something that a lot of people don't quite understand, but they really need to get on board and start understanding that, because that's going to be what makes or breaks our universe. And number 13, Mr. Elon Musk. Dodge, yes, building a migrant database. So Elon Musk's involvement with basically Dodge. And if you're wondering, everybody always says to me, hey, John, what, and this is a good question, what does, Dodge stand for? Everybody asks this, what does Dodge stand for with Elon Musk? And so Dodge is basically this new system that he's putting in place. And so Dodge is it's an acronym for the government. So Dodge is it's an acronym for a government agency, and it stands for the Department of Government Efficiency. Has a real fancy name, doesn't it? Yeah, sure does. So now that we know what it stands for, Elon Musk's involvement with Dodge is continuing to stir up more attention. But now it's branching into an unexpected project. Musk has recently announced that Dodge is being used to build a database of migrant workers, helping them access essential services and benefits. This unexpected use of cryptocurrency for, you guessed it, social good has raised eyebrows, with critics questioning the motivation behind Musk's move. Some view it as a clever public relations stunt, while others believe it could open up new opportunities for migrants to improve their financial and social standing. As the project unfolds, it may create a model for future tech driven solutions to address global migration challenges, and the success of the initiative could redefine how digital currencies and blockchain are integrated into humanitarian projects in life. So I think that's I think that's an important thing. But I think the biggest thing is, what's actually going on, right? I think that's the biggest thing. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. And maybe you can understand, a little bit more about, what's going on. Hopefully, I hope, right? And maybe that'll make sense for you, right? I hope it does. But it's got people concerned, right? It's got people concerned about what's going to happen, what's not going to happen, and we'll go from there, because I think this is a big challenge, that's going to happen for a lot of people. Okay, um, I think that's important. Does that make sense to everyone? I hope it does. But I think a lot of you are concerned about the political cultures. Does that make sense to you? Maybe. Maybe not, right? But if it does make sense, does that mean we're going to go a certain way or not? I think this is a big issue for a lot of people. Okay. And I think that's the big issue for a lot of people here, is they've got to understand what that is and why that is. Well, our last story today is a very interesting one. Seattle crosswalks are hacked with Bezos' AI voice. What the blank is this crap all about, right? This is something that I think is so amazing that I feel most people won't get this. They won't get it, and the reason they won't get it is because they're just going to be driven. And I think they're going to be driven by what's going on. And what's going on is this: people are abusing AI. Seattle crossers, as I said, were hacked with Bezos' AI voice. So Seattle residents were left startled, to say the least, when they discovered that the city's crosswalk signals were being hacked with a voice mimicking Amazon's Jeff Bezos. The prank, which used artificial intelligence to generate Bezos' voice, caused confusion and raised concern about the vulnerability of public infrastructure to cyber attacks. The hack was clearly a reminder of how AI is being used not just for innovation, but also for mischief. Authorities are investigating, is probably the best way to say this, the incident, and experts warn that such vulnerabilities could become more common as smart cities rely on AI systems for day-to-day operation. Could this be a wake-up call for cities to rethink how they secure their technology infrastructure? I think it really can. But as I've said to you guys before, AI is a tool. It's how we choose to use it that makes it so. Does that make sense to everybody? Hopefully it does. And maybe you'll be able to understand that just a little bit better, right? And by being a little better, I think you might get a sense for, like, what it's about, right? What it's about. And what it's about is something pretty cool. And that's the fact that we have the ability to make these changes in our life, right? We have the ability to make these changes in our life. I mean, literally, we can make these changes like immediately. And I think that's a big thing for a lot of people. They don't realize that we have this ability right in our own world. Okay. That's something that I think is scaring a lot of people. Why? Because the decisions we make, okay, are impacting not only the policies that are being created, okay, but it's also shaping the culture. It's shaping things like, how we went from, right, work to no work, right? We had the people wanting to work from home. Now they finally kind of ended that. So I think it's a big problem, and I see it only getting worse. I see it only getting worse. And it's going to be a problem, guys. It's going to be a problem for people. But I don't want you to be scared of it. I want you to understand that you can make some big changes in your life. And these changes they're very, 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 very powerful. All right. Very, very powerful. But it starts from where we are now. Where we are now is where it comes from. And that's a pretty big deal. And I think that's going to make the difference to whether something is going to work or not work. Okay. I mean, I think that's the big thing. And I think if you understand that, then you probably understand the whole concept of AI. Artificial intelligence was designed to help our world. Okay. Artificial intelligence was never designed to be like, how can I say, to be something people should fear. But unfortunately, a lot of people in our world have been using it as a crutch. People have been using it as excuses to not do work, right? I don't have a problem with people using it for, to, let's say, do research, but it shouldn't replace our work, right? That's important. But if you don't understand that, then how do you even begin to think? How do you begin to think? I think the thinking has to come from a very interesting spot, an interesting place. And that's something that I think a lot of people don't understand. It requires a different mindset. Does that make sense, everybody? I think if you understand a mindset, then maybe, just maybe, you'll be able to make some very positive changes in your life. But mindset for AI is something that I believe a lot of people, like, they shut down about. And they shut down about it. You know why? Because they don't know. Because they don't know and they don't want to know. They just make that choice. So in this week's episode of the JMOR Tech Talk Show, I dove very deep into the major waves shaking up the global tech scene around the world. Google pushing back against the antitrust ruling that targets its dominance in the ad tech world, while a UK class action lawsuit threatens the company with a 6.6 billion price tag in the US, or the 5 point something in the UK. At the same time, the company is under scrutiny for its role in digital advertising practices. Meanwhile, Discord is testing facial recognition, right? Scans to verify user ages, stirring up conversations around privacy and youth, protection online. Over in the AI world, protester stole the show at Microsoft's latest AI event, drawing attention to the growing ethical concerns surrounding artificial intelligence. I mean, these are serious things, guys. Really, really serious things. And, you know, we also covered the international developments that can't be ignored from Zambia, which warned by the US over the new cyber legislation that could harm digital freedoms to a UK council. Implementations AI to design housing plans. Governments are actively redefining the tech landscape every single day. Even in China, guys, innovation took center stage as robots completed a half marathon showcasing the incredible strides in robotics. Tesla is once again in the hot seat again in a legal battle over a whistleblower lawsuit, moving forward now because the judge says it's okay to move ahead. And Meta is under fire once again for failing to properly support users whose accounts were hacked. Yet another strike against the tech giant's user protection policies and them just saying that they need to charge money to get you verified so they can provide support. Really bad. And finally, we touched upon some headlines making moments that blur the lines between bizarre and brilliant. NASA's Parker Solar Probe has made it closest ever in their approach to the sun, helping humanity better understand our solar system. Elon Musk, always in the spotlight, is now rumored to be using a Dodge labeled entity to build a controversial, a very controversial migrant database through his development in clouds in speculation. To top it off, Seattle's crosswalks were recently hacked to play Jeff Bezos' voice using AI, turning a quiet city moment into a surreal tech prank. And so the thing about this is that it wasn't just like things that would probably just like alert somebody. These were like offensive messages that were being loaded and that were hacked into the system. So I see that as a big, big problem, you know? I mean, I think it's a big problem for everybody. What do you guys feel? I hope you guys can appreciate where we're going with tech, and I hope this makes some sense for you. All right, I really do. And so I think if we can understand this, then maybe we can definitely do some pretty cool stuff. All right. And I think that's a pretty cool thing for everyone to understand, that we can do some amazing things, but we first have to realize, ladies and gentlemen, that it comes down to who we are and the decisions we make. All right, guys, I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It's always a privilege, pleasure, and honor to be with you guys in the amazing days, weekends, and evenings here. Do check out BelieveMeAchieve.com for more of my amazing, inspiring creations. I'll catch you real soon, everyone.